I found something on perusing websites that was really cool, and I'm gonna save it for sometime in the middle in the show of yours. I was like, wow, that's neat.
It is neat.
It is neat. I was like, oh my gosh, that's really cool. So.
I would love to play in that game, whatever the heck it is.
This is Metro Building Authority set up, but yeah, my setups are like that all the time.
It's very similar to that.
Alan, I have an old school game that I played, and Anna played in it. It was a couple weeks ago. I had Ed Greenwood playing in it. I had Eric Boyd playing in it as well. So I had some of the old playing in Greyhawk.
And he has the coolest basement ever.
Yeah, so you want to hop in on one of these? That's
yeah, it's he has a huge game table, over 20,000 miniatures, buildings, terrain, everything.
We play miniature style, miniature.
Yeah.
And there are convention I go to in the Northeast, TotalCon. There was a miniatures table that just caught my eye. You know, I mean, there's a mix of like pirate ships and fighters and a city, and there was a Zeppelin, you know, and I
nice.
Whatever that is, I want to play it.
Yeah.
I've always played the individual style. I mean, it's just since we were kids, but you know, we couldn't afford that stuff. We played more. You know, we had all the Grenadier miniatures, but they weren't painted, a lot of them, you know, because we didn't have. You know, all that was out there was testers, you know, enamel paint. So,
I've actually come up with a plague that I use in my games that causes the flesh to take on a silvery metallic film.
Unpainted miniatures play.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I will, I'll, if you're not following along on Twitch, it's no big deal. I'll take care of all that and what the questions are off of the Twitch, because we're live on that. And
yeah, you'll have to do that.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Try to follow too many things, it'll go crazy.
I got it. Sound check out there. Can you hear us?
I can.
Yeah, we'll see if the ones at Twitch can hear us too. Yes.
What's up, Alcine? I just want to make sure I can hear us. Yes, it is Dragon. All right, good. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Burn through these. Burn through Troller Games. Chuck will understand. Hey, Gary. Wow, Gary, it's a little early for you, Pluffet Smedger. Gary Julian. Oh my gosh. Normally, wow, that's cool. Gary, if you got any questions for Alan, just let me know. I'm assuming, Alan, you and Gary Julian's errors didn't cross, right?
I don't recall.
Okay.
And as a lot of, you know, all of my interviews are going to start off with, to the best of my
That's good.
That's the thing.
So
yes.
long.
That's all right.
I totally understand that. Yep. It's like someone asked me what I did 25 years ago or 20 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, Gary says he doesn't think so.
Yeah, I got a button from a friend of mine that makes them for the first in-person convention coming up and says, "Hello, I don't remember your name either."
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's awesome. Yeah, Dragon, that updates. Yeah, I mean that's so Virtual GreyHawkCon is a goal. There's our second one, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that first weekend in October. Schedule's already working up for streams and sign-ups, registration, and event sign-ups to put events in for DMing and seminars and stuff start July 1st. So, yep, just go to that tabletop events. It'll link right to all the dates. So, Infinite Dimensions giveaway. By the way, everyone's this Thursday for some pretty cool STL files on Thursday night's game. All right, let me now see. Look, I missed my cue there. See, I did. I didn't misprint. I just miscued. So I'm gonna cut Infinite Dimensions short. So, but Alan, thank you so very much for coming on. We're easy going here, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Ghost Tower is one of 24 modules on my what's called Wall of Fame in my basement. So, including some greats as, you know, Temple of Mental Evil, you know, Saltmarsh, Hamlets, Lensbone Hill, you know, so, yeah, it's got a place on there, definitely. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, Gary, about the 83 box set folio. Absolutely. X-Key Puppet. Look at that. I'm going to cut Infinite Dimension short here. That's great STL prints, 3D prints. But
It's awesome.
yeah, the stuff is unbelievable, Alan. It's come such a long way. I mean, they have an arena that they just did in a Kickstarter. And I'm going to have it for a Grand Melee in October, and I'm also going to use it for the arena in the Free City Greyhawk too. So yeah, it's awesome, unbelievable 3D prints. The technology's come a long way. What's up, Big Jim and George? Lex Fire, how you guys doing? Well, one more sub or one more 100 cheer of 100 away from a what do you call it already? A hype train already.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Bob, from Oktoberfest terrain is already being. They gotta plan this far ahead. I can't kill Bill the Master Crafter that much. I kill him, and you know, then I don't have any crafter.
You working hard.
I work him hard enough as it is. Yeah. Nah, he does some great stuff. He was actually featured on Reaper's show on Friday night.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's cool.
That is so
Yep.
cool.
Yep. All right, let's welcome our very special guest tonight, Alan Hammack. Put up some of his accomplishments there. Some fantastic modules, and I imagine a lot of other participation beyond what we beyond him being the main author, which we'd love to talk about tonight, and some other wonderful things early on at the TSR. When I was but a wee kid.
That's the best looking graphic of my work I've ever seen.
Oh, well, thank you, Alan.
Thank you. Yes.
One thing I do, I try to do my research, man.
Yeah.
Try to do it. So we have Anna's wonderful map in the background, Greyhawk,
Yeah.
and the.
And I've read through some of it today, so again, so yeah.
Good.
Yes. I've had it many years, and I've never really played it as it is, but I've read it like 3 times now at least, and I've looked at the Ghost Tower Impetus on my Greyhawk map too, so it's been placed there. But it might be, well, now when I read it the 3rd time, I'm like, maybe it needs to be moved. We'll see. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm J.K. Lord Gazumba here for another Gabbin at Lord Peaks Haven. We've just been rolling with very special guests lately, and this one I'm so looking forward to, along with Anna Meyer, as always, my partner in crime. Please, everyone, welcome the legendary Alan Hammack. Alan, thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, thank you. Too kind. I appreciate that.
So, I love going back to like the almost immediate early days, you know, back when no one knew what was going, you didn't know what was going on. It was like free for all and great things. I know you talk about that in your competitive, in the A1 through 4 series, and your, it was like, what do we do at tournaments? And it was all new and it was all fresh, and I'd love to get your take on a lot of those things tonight while we talk and chat about it. First things first, what were you doing before you decided, man, this is for me, getting into the game?
Well, I was finishing up my master's degree in chemistry before, and I had of course, this had been my hobby for several years, but hang on, my camera keeps
It looks
drifting.
so cool. It looks like you become more
Yeah.
and more of a
Alright.
hobbit
Yeah.
here. You get your halfling in. Yep.
So, I was preparing for life in the real world, and had finished everything except my thesis for the master's in chemistry.
Wow.
And that summer of 1978, as I had been for the last 2 or 3 years, went to Gen Con in Lake, well, I guess it was Parkside that year, UW Parkside. And the winter before, I had answered a small classified ad in the Dragon for an editor at TSR. And I had dashed off a few things about my newspaper work and the fact that I had had a couple of articles printed in the Dragon already and some letters and stuff like, and they knew me, a lot of them knew me by now. Tim Kask had run me in the Origins AD&D tournament, and our team won that.
Oh, nice.
And that same year, I won in best of class as best mage at the Gen Con tournament. And so they knew my name, but still I got to Gen Con, and I'm, as we all are, late for an event, and walking briskly through the restaurant there, and saw Gary Gygax in line. And this is how long ago it was. Gary was waiting in line for food, okay, like everyone else. And he saw me and waved me over, come on over. And I, of course, even though I'm late, you break off because it's Gary, and he said, "When can you start?" And I went, "Okay, put the master's plan on hold and start."
Your life changed in a second there, so to speak.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Wow.
It really did. And I honestly didn't expect to be up there for more than a year or maybe two.
So did you live in, do you have to relocate from another part of the country or?
Yes. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, wow. So you had to move north, really. Yeah.
And the winter of 1978, I was told by locals, was their worst in many decades of memory. Cool. So it was quite an adjustment for a young lad from the South. But I had been an editor of some various newspapers and things like that. I mean, not chief editor, but I've been a writer and learned the trade there, and that was primarily what they were looking for at that stage. Now, as it turns out, and as later I was involved in some of the hiring, you don't look for just an editor, you look for an editor who knows about games. In those days, the market was limited enough, and we were audacious enough to think that we could know everything about all games that were in the industry at the time. We had Avalon Hill, we had SPI, we had some miniatures rules, and then we had that up and coming Dungeons and Dragons. And then Car Wars and Ogre and a few things were but you could keep up with the entire industry. It's not like today where there's no possible way for anyone to play all the games that come out in the era of self-publishing. But so the idea is you wanted somebody with a good sense of copy editing, good sense of spelling and grammar, who knew a little bit about the fundamentals of typesetting and typesetting marks and printing as well as writing, because I won't come back to say in those days, but in those days, when getting something typeset was an expensive process. That was a major layout to have the typesetter key out what were called galleys, which were slick typeset column-wide pages of the material that you had sent in. And then these galleys would then be cut with scalpel and pasted up on cardboard to be the layout that we would do. And that's when we would put it together and find that there was an 1.25 inch gap at the bottom of the column before the next chapter. And that's when we turned to Dave Sutherland and say, I need an 1.25 inch illustration, you know? And that's how so many odd-sized drawings got into early works, is because
so they were ordered
I mean, you could, the best writers who had this kind of print experience could predict with fair accuracy how much column inches the typeset was going to take. But if you change the typeface, the font at all, it's going to change the length of the column. And so you don't want to order the illustrations too far in advance. You had to see what was there, because once something was typeset, unless it was a major mistake, the typo would likely stay in because it was that expensive to the price of the product.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So you were like the editor par extraordinaire there, basically. You're like, I'm going to take over.
Well, I was the third string editor behind Mike Carr and Tim Jones at the time. I was about the 12th employee, but Mike had been there quite a while, the author of Fight in the Skies and B1 and you know, some editor of some of the early things there. Tim Jones' name undeservedly is not known as much as some of the others, but he was there before I was, and was an editor on a lot of the things. Now, TSR also used titles very loosely, and so an editor might actually have to do major writing portions of something, as well as the typesetting, as well as the layout, as well as, you know, like with everyone else, working the UPS trucks when they arrived.
I mean, you were a small company, so people had to pitch in. You didn't have like solid departments and stuff like that. So
the building that I worked in originally is the one that just recently reopened as the TSR Dungeon Museum.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
William Street
so
location.
Before you moved to that big complex.
It was a house. Yeah, it was a house that had been converted.
I've seen that house. And, at Gary Con a couple of years ago. Yeah.
When I first was there, I shared a desk and shared a typewriter with Tim Jones. So
see, wow. So this was the early days when the game was still coming into the market, so to speak. It was not the big established thing.
Yeah, to give you a timeline, the Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual had just come out when I got hired. It had just been released.
Holmes Basic was out, but not Moldvay. Holmes Basic was out. Holmes Basic was out already, but not the Moldvay Basic box set.
Tom had not been hired yet, so
okay.
Not. Actually, the Holmes Basic was not printed yet because I did some editing on that as well.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
because that was where I started as a kid.
We're talking September 1978.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Perfect timing. So just Alan, so you know, there's some questions coming in, but I wanted to tell everyone there is a giveaway tonight, courtesy of our great viewer, Canadian Ancient Gamer. At least I'm going to give away at least 2 reprints of Ghost Tower of Inverness to you guys tonight, guys and gals tonight. Yes.
Yep.
So there you go. So very nice. As opposed to, now I have multiple copies of this, and one of them's on my wall. But look at this original. I mean, that is, you want to talk about beat up?
But mine survived fairly well, actually. It's intact and it's This one is not pristine, but not far from it. So I have a couple of the other ones somewhere too here in my collection. I started gaming in 79, 80. So
Okay,
winter between
right
79,
along then.
80. Yeah, back in Sweden, where I moved to California 10 years ago. So we were
True,
among the first ones that in Sweden that picked up. We started with the Xerox copy that someone had given and one set of dice for the whole game. And then we started finding ways. So we bought started buying the books in 1980, and we started gaming from there. So yeah.
Well, there was actually a polyhedral dice shortage for a while, and for a while the games were printed with chits, cardboard chits labeled 1 through 10.
Yeah.
That you had to draw out of a cup, which was the old SPI way of randomizing things before there were dice, polyhedral dice.
Alan, my first box set was the Holmes Basic Prison Edition. Which is how it was called with the chits. I'm like, there's no dice in there.
I think it was like 3 years before we got a second set of dice. We had one set of dice for the whole game table for like the whole game group of like 6-7 people for I think 2 years before we got a second set.
It's fun. It's fun for me to see what they call the homage dice of that are modern dice made to look like the older dice of the monocolors that you have to paint in or something. We had a lot of different ways of marking the 20-sider on that. One of the things that I did that I never saw anyone else do, and it was a lot of work, was to take a very fine brush and label half of the triangular facets, paint them red. The numbers would be something else, but so you'd have a red triangle on the ones that were 10 plus, so.
I remember they came with small pluses. That was the first, for some years, they came with a plus on the 10 plus, so to speak.
Sometimes
so plus 0 was 20 and stuff. Yeah, stuff. That was for a couple of years.
And, that goes back to the fact that ordering dies in those days was a pretty expensive process, and manufacturers didn't want to change once they had them.
So you're doing some editing first, and I know you have your own campaign separate. And are you still playing it at this time? But once you moved, did you have to stop it? Because what I found was on another site, and I admit, so I'm going to give them credit. I found this on another site. I found your Inverness campaign map. And that is this. So let me show this to everyone. Here is Alan's Inverness campaign map. There it is.
And this is the efforts of a starting teenager. So do give me.
Don't worry about it. I said when Jay showed me that, I said I need to show my maps, and now I'm a professional fantasy cartographer. Go back 30 years, my maps looked worse than yours 30 years ago, or even 25 years ago. They didn't look much better than that. And now I'm actually doing this for a living. So
that's wonderful. My experience, and it took me a long time to do this. Now, a lot of those names might be familiar if you are fans of really old fantasy, because I took my favorite fantasy books and borrowed names from them because we were just playing with friends. Why not? And for those who read those particular series, like Escarp is Witch World from Andre Norton, they would understand that in that area, if they went there, they're going to find a fair number of witches. So sorcery is going to be crazy there. In the far upper left northwest corner of that map, there was a desert which was going to be very hard to get to, but it actually connected to the campaign world of my DM at the time, my first DM, who had Howie Miller, who had created that world, and his world connected to another one of my local friends. So in theory, you could go from one to the other. We just made it very difficult because we were operating at different level characters and such.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So your world was called Inverness.
No, only because only because that became the favorite dungeon
Okay.
that everyone went to.
All right.
And it wasn't my first either. But in our local group, it was expected that if you played D&D, you would also run D&D.
Oh, wow.
Because that way you would get to play 4 times as often as you had to run, or something like that. And playing was the reward for running. So, and the immense amount of work that did that. So it got to a point where I knew the rules well enough that I couldn't put off running anymore. And they said, well, you need to create a dungeon. I said, okay, fine. And I slapped together a dungeon based on a map that another friend had started, and I rekeyed it and everything. And then they said, well, what town are we starting from? And I went, Holy Horrocks, All right, so I put that a few hexes away, and then after a few adventures in that, they said, well, I think we pretty well explored this one. What's the next dungeon in the area? And I went, and that's when I worked on Inverness.
Okay.
And
very
it
cool.
became the biggest of the dungeons in my campaign, because I was able to keep expanding faster than they were exploring it, which could be a hassle sometimes. I also, and we're talking, old school D&D now, actually pre-first edition. Mapping was an important thing.
Sure.
You had to be able to make your own maps in the dungeon to not get lost, because just like in Greyhawk and some others, it might be possible to get into a dungeon and not get out of it. I did have characters that died from not being able to find the way out that they came in.
Wow.
And because I had rooms that rotated, and I had rooms that teleported, and I had rooms with undetectable slopes unless you were a dwarf and paid attention. And so, because again, in the original D&D, the level of the dungeon underneath should give you an indicator of the strength of the monsters you would find there. And if you didn't know you were going another level or 2 down, you would get yourself in too much hot water for your level.
This is something that all the new players need to understand. These things were lethal. You were a good player if you survived back then. So
no, and people, I don't want to say people are soft nowadays. Maybe they get too attached
characters
to their characters.
died often. Yeah,
I get that. But we wrote our characters on 3x5 index cards, and we did it in pencil because
to change names.
A lot of times we didn't even give them a name unless they survived the second level. Because so many of them died at first level.
Yep.
Those are
and
days.
This brings up another thing. I mean, we would do the 3d6 in order, and then you would see, okay, now what did the dice tell me that character's going to be?
Yep.
In addition, as opposed to moving them around and everything, which is fine. I think I enjoy. You should play what you want to play. But the other thing is, it handled encumbrance very well, because we said you can only carry what you can write on the back of your card. And there really wasn't a way for people to abuse it. And so that became the encumbrance capacity, is what you could write on the back of the card.
Those, and it's just so iconic, those games back in the day,
Well, and the cards were the miniatures before we had that. You had the cards on the table in your marching order.
Yep.
Because you figure miniatures come out, 80, 81 is the earliest of the Grenadiers, if that.
There were others prior to that, but that you're about right for especially the Grenadier licensed miniatures from TSR.
Yeah.
But other people were doing them before then. It was just really hard to get them unless you lived in towns named Lake Geneva or or Los Angeles or
or where the armory shipped
hobby
to.
shop.
Yeah, some of them. So we had a question from Josh who kind of coordinated this with us, Josh Pop Zarathon. Do you happen to have? Do you still have all those old cards? I never threw anything out in my game going back to 80. I was wondering if he asked if you
I have many of those old cards.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool. That just, I mean, it's just like you never, as a D&D DM or player, or
Exactly.
you never throw anything out. Ever.
Exactly. You can it can be used and in homaged in newer games and stuff.
Well,
so, yeah.
and it became kind of a mark of pride among my players as to how many dead characters they had in the index pile.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and then some players may have more dead than alive characters. Get to the point, dozens. So
everyone had more dead than alive.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember the first one. I think I had like 10 characters, and I managed to level one character level up to 3rd level, and I was like, oh, that was the first time, and I probably played almost 2 years when I had, or a year and a half at least, until I got a character to 3rd level. Yeah.
It's very exciting, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What was the highest level that you played in your campaign? That you
the highest level character in my campaign?
Yeah.
8th level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was kind of basing it on I should have characters not getting experience faster than the characters that I knew of in Greyhawk. So
So you were trying to balance it with what was going on in the actual campaign.
I said they started, a year or so earlier than I did, some maybe longer. So my character can't possibly have caught up to them yet. So.
Very cool. It's great that you were balancing it against that. So speaking of that, when you got to when you've been working at TSR, I'm assuming for a year and a half, did Gary say, "Hey, let's take one of your"? This is a competition module. So TomoCon C1 was this a Gen Con competition?
No, neither one of them were.
Okay.
Mine was for a WinterCon in Detroit, which was a large Detroit convention. The AD&D Open tournament there. I want to say it had between 50 and 100 teams, of 5 players each. So,
how many sessions each? 3?
No,
straight through.
No, that for the way that I wrote it, it was 1. Everyone played at the same time, and so nobody could get any
points,
inside information on how the tournament was going from somebody who played it previously. And that was, as we talked about earlier, something that we addressed later in the Slave Lords tournament that myself and Lawrence and Zeb and Harold wrote. So
yes, and Zeb really gave us some insight on that. I want to definitely get your insights on that Slavers series as well. So I'm assuming this was hugely successful at that tournament, and then Gary said, "Let's publish this."
Well, now, okay. First, a little. How did I get picked to do that? Well, it was as usual. TSR had made a commitment to somebody, and then said, "Oh, we have 3 months to come up with a tournament." And then they went to the design department and said, "Can anybody do this?" And I said, well, I could if I adapted my existing campaign dungeon, as a start for the maps, because I could give them something to go with, the artist something to go with immediately, because the mapping drawing in producing a module is one of the slowest aspects as far as talent and time is getting it to the illustrators to do that.
That's what I'm trying to tell every publisher I work with. Don't come 3 weeks before to think that I'm going to make something.
Exactly. And nobody gave Rembrandt a deadline. So,
it takes time.
Or if they did, they had to wait. But anyway, so I said I could do it, and I scaled it down to just one underground level, and then came up with the idea of the tower. Instead of going deep for the MacGuffin, they had to go up for the MacGuffin.
That's cool.
And adapted a name from a wild radio show that I remember from college days, and then had to write a theme around it. So,
So the Soul Gem in Ghost Tower, was that a mainstay in your own campaign, and you built around that, or was that something you added?
My players never actually got into the tower. The tower was a creation for the tournament because all of the Inverness mega dungeon itself was I want to say eight numbered levels, of which we had sheets of graph paper that were logarithmically spaced. So there was a huge amount that I could put on one sheet of the engineering science type graph paper. And the reason this is important is because it fooled the mappers. They had a key, they could perceive if the DM changes pieces of paper behind the screen, and then they go, okay, I can start a new sheet of paper. But I kept going, no, keep going. And they had to start 2 new pages. And then I said, okay, now you can turn south, so the mappers had to come up with their own system of keeping regular scale graph paper for this system that I was keeping on engineering scale graph paper. And it was very amusing for me.
It must have been tough for them to translate that into an 8.5 by 11 eventually when they made the printed module of it.
Right. And so anyway, when the plan always with the C modules was to have a couple of hundred of them printed to sell at the tournament after we had run it. This had never been done before C1 and C2, and we decided to do this because everybody wanted to buy the tournament they just played in. What a great marketing plan. But we knew we couldn't have a regular glossy slick module ready in time. So we had this Ziploc, the green set.
Oh, that's where they came from. Okay.
And that's and those were run off on an offset press and were assembled, well, at least in my case, mostly by me, on the night before we left for the convention.
Wow. Yep.
Well, I know it's iconic and it's challenging, and there's really cool traps, and there's you basically are going to other worlds, kind of pocket planes. I have to ask a question about one of them, and I know something came out at that time, and I think you beat them. If you ever saw the 5 Doctors, there's also a chessboard trap. Is that where it came from, or did you predate that trap that is set in that best of in Doctor Who? Because it's right around the same time.
I was a Doctor Who fan, but at the time that I wrote this, I had not seen my first episode of Doctor Who.
Okay.
So that's the answer.
Okay. So you did it, because it's really cool. The chessboard area is a really cool one based on movement. Sorry if I gave that as a
spoilers. Yes.
Yeah, spoilers for the chess room.
When I run it, and I run this every convention that I go to, if I get an inkling that people have an idea of what it is, I will change how it operates. So
that's good.
Smart move. What are your fondest memories of it, of the whole package of it,
or running it or something?
I would say that on the initial run of it, as I say, there were somewhere between 50 and 100 of these teams. one team finished on time with all 5 players surviving. So it was really easy to score a winner. And I said, I've invented the perfect tournament. So that was that, because the problem with tournaments before is that it's very subjective. You've got, DM Bob giving too many bonus points to the team for this, and and DM Jeff not being known as being stingy and not giving a lot of points. And so, who's to say which of those teams actually played better? Well, that's always a challenge. This was written in a sequence of, it's sort of what I call a railgun. You've got checkpoints and each time you do a checkpoint, you get a certain number of points, but there's a little bit of wiggle room for subjective points in there, but it's going to be a very minor consideration. It's going to be a tiebreaker, and the number of players that survives is a points maker. Getting to the end on time is a points maker. You start a timer as the tournament starts, and depending, there are points for how far you get, how fast, I guess, is the best way, in it. But it's not the kind of tournament that most people would expect nowadays. So I wouldn't try to run it. Just run it for fun, and don't worry about the scoring or the timing system. Now, I'm also going to say that my favorite memories are still being made, because every time I run it, somebody comes up with something different, and a new way to approach a problem, or a new way to fail at a problem, which can be almost as much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I only ran it, and I'm going to say this, because my campaign's 41 years old now in Greyhawk. I think about 10 years ago, and I have to ask this question. Thank you, Crow, for that host. Here is the map of the Hardby area. And if you see on this map, I can go to a larger screen if we need to, but the Ghost Tower, remember, this is on the coast to the southeast of Hardby. All right. So when I had them, and we have a lot of ship-based adventuring, they would go by, and in a storm, they saw the tower, and then it disappeared. So that I kind of threw it in, it fit perfectly. It fit perfectly into what we were doing. Who placed it in this area?
I did.
Okay.
And the reason was, when it came, it wasn't important for the tournament. When it came to publication as a canonical module,
right.
We were under the restriction that we had to make them all fit in the world of Greyhawk. So that's why mine, it's not really retconning, but it's having to be creative about finding a backstory to put it into the world of Greyhawk and make it fit. Now, at the time, I probably knew more about the world of Greyhawk than anyone except Gary, because I was editing the darn thing, at the time for him. So I had access to all of his notes of the geography and the areas and the peoples, and found a pretty good fit for it. Same reason that Lawrence Schick's White Plume Mountain might seem shoehorned, oddly, somewhere. We were told it had to fit in the world of Greyhawk because everything was going in there, because that was TSR's setting. So
I love that. I love the location for it. It fits perfectly fit perfectly for me. So I was really happy about that.
And I actually found a picture of a Scottish ruins on a promontory recently, and I've been kind of re-photoshopping that to put in a stormy, background and things as my location when I run it on Roll20. So
well, that's awesome. Very very cool.
Yeah.
So one more question about Ghost Tower, and that is Alyssa Teague wrote a Return to. Have you ever seen it? What do you think of it?
Elisa is a good friend. I've played in numerous games with her, not in role playing. She wrote it entirely independently of me, and it was done for an Adventurers League thing. And I eventually bought myself a copy of it, since no one actually gave me one.
Oh, wow.
But I enjoyed it, and I've run it for my players. And as a matter of fact, I'm running both Ghost Star of Inverness and Return to Inverness at North Texas in a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
Tell Alan Growy we said hi, because Alan's a great friend of ours, and unfortunately I cannot get there. I'm glad to hear you're going to be there. That's fantastic.
Yep, wonderful.
That's wonderful. So was Lawrence Schick's White Plume in his own campaign? Would you happen to know? I haven't had him.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was his resume module. He sent that in as job application.
What a great resume module.
Yeah.
So the four of you, Zeb Cook, Harold and Tom on the second one, Alan on the third, you, and Lawrence Schick on the fourth, made this mega series. Now the question is, was this done all in the same year for the Great Con? Oh my gosh!
It was done simultaneously.
Oh my!
For one convention, so that A1 and A2, and I want to say the first part of A3 were 5 first round slots for the tournament, and it would be like in the morning. They ran each one of them was divided into 2. Yeah, so A1 was 2 slots, A2 was 2 slots, first part of A3 was a slot, and so A1 was run like Thursday morning, second part of A1 was run Thursday afternoon, and so on. And that way, and the trick, and what we had all complained about and all of us knew and were trying to do, was that we wanted to create a tournament where you could play a later slot that would be an equivalent challenge, but totally different, so that people who had played it earlier couldn't spill the beans, because gamers talk. They talk.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's not in their best interest because they're in a tournament, they're going to talk. And so people in later rounds of tournaments always did better than the first round, always. So the 4 of us got together, and we wanted to create, and it was kind of independent challenges, but we totally balanced the hit points and that were being faced, the hit dice of the monsters that were being faced, and roughly the time that people had to finish each element of what they were doing. In other words, I think we created the predecessor to the challenge rating system. I mean, in what we were doing, because that we tried to get a very, very balanced tournament going. And then, so I knew I was going to have to write basically 1 first round in the semifinal. And then Lawrence came over and said, by the way, you're going to have to do something special for the semifinal. I said, what's that? And he said, they've got to lose. And I said, well, what do you mean? No, what if they play well? And he said, no, they've got to lose. So they have to be captured. So I had to invent a way to no matter how brilliant the play of all of these players, that they had to fail. And so if you read the end, it's pretty much a DM cheat, but there it is. It had to happen. It's Lawrence's fault.
And it still bites some players, like, but no buts.
Well, and the funny thing was that we got to, back in those days, we posted winning results on bulletin boards, and rankings and things. And the players who all lost in that round came up kind of dragging the next morning, looking at the bulletin board, and wait, we're in. How did that happen? Because everybody thought they had been eliminated, which was fun. And of course, Lawrence's reason for having that start that way I'm not going to spoil if you haven't read A4, but it's brilliant and it's fun and it really challenged everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
You know,
Yep.
so did you jointly come up with Suderham, the Isle of Suderham, with Zeb, or was that your
No, that was mine.
Okay.
I like playing jokes with words.
Yes, I know you
And
mixed.
and Suter was south, and Ham was, it means home. It's also part of my name. It's also, anyway, so it was South Home. It was kind of a I'm homesick,
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah, I know. So if you get the A1 to 4 compilation, Alan has a really good. Everyone has a forward, and he has an A3 forward here. It was from 2012. And I'm going to just read the last paragraph real quick. And Alan says, it was amusingly, wickedly enjoyable to watch the teams gather as the postings for those who had advanced to the final round were made. Every team thought they had failed, since they and every other team they compared notes with were defeated in the semifinal round. The looks of astonishment as they found out they had advanced were priceless. Even then, I didn't feel safe letting anyone know I had written a tournament round that had so horribly mistreated them at the end. Evil chuckle.
Yep.
That is awesome.
And yeah, that's actually from the hardcover compilation in which Skip Williams did a prequel, an A0 bit. So even more fun and frolic if you want to run that super campaign.
Dark Shelf Quarry. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And I know that Predators Rejects is doing the Slavers now, and you had Sean and Pramus do the Slavers afterwards. The compilation for second edition, which is fantastic. Played on a lot of the stuff that was taken out from A1 to 4, and it just lives on to this day. So it's been very, very. It was fantastic. So I'm assuming once this was done that the clamor to get these 4 modules was crazy, and so
Yeah.
How long did it take to get these out after that?
I don't remember, although they did come out kind of in numerical order.
Right.
And I think that we got the first 2 out fairly quickly after the convention.
1980, it looks like.
But even at that point, again, we'd expanded the artist staff quite a bit, but art is always, I don't want to say it's kind of like a fixed cost in accounting. You can't compress it beyond a certain point. You have to give them a fixed amount of time to do a fixed amount of work. So
looks like a lot was Diesel in this one, in yours.
Yeah. Diesel and
I
think maybe Rosloff and Errol. So
yeah, that's the back.
I sometimes get confused about who did what, and in C2 because there was the green version, which was different art than
really?
the red version.
Wow.
So.
Yep.
Anyone out there have a green version of Ghost Tower? I'm just curious because I imagine they're awfully
really
rare.
Pricey.
Yeah.
I did run into the person that had, now all of the green ones were numbered. Okay.
Wow.
So you do have a serial number on them. And I ran into the guy that has number 1 at a Gary Con, and it's David Baxter, who's an actor. And
wow.
He told me, I said, well, how did you get it? And he said, because we were on the winning team at that tournament. And so he actually played in that tournament back in the day. And as a result of winning, they were allowed to buy the first numbers of the tournament. So
that's so awesome.
Fantastic.
So you have a good run going in the early 80s, and then and I left it. The one thing I left downstairs is my glossography box set. I wish I had brought it up, but we did a lot of major editing on that. I'm assuming. What were your experiences doing that? I mean, that's an iconic, you know, you had the folio before that, which I have up here, but the box set's where things really kick off with Greyhawk. So let me see if I can pull out at least the folio. Yep, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the folio here. So we're a little behind. This is the 1980 folio, but then the box set comes out with a lot more information on it. So for what
Right.
was
Yeah,
it?
it was a lot of fun. It was also you know, for us it kind of marked the last bits that Gary kind of personally interacted with us on projects on. At that by that point he was, you know, not keeping his office in the same building, you know, with us, and he would kind of write in the ivory tower, you know, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then he was getting involved with the D&D Hollywood entertainment stuff, which you know, has its own history and mystery. So
Yeah.
but there was a, you know, during the project World of Greyhawk, he would give me something to work on, and I would work on it. I would go back to him, have questions, and, you know, for at least a while there was a time where I could go down a few steps, go into his office, ask him a question, and he'd either tell me something or he'd, you know, bang out a reply or some more material on a typewriter, or he'd tell me to, you know, write it. This is the answer, you write it up, you know, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great time. That was very fun working with him. That was the you know, one of the highlights for me.
So most of that glossography was that box set was written by Gary, and you just did most of the editing on it. For
Oh sure, yeah.
Okay.
There was a few, you know, if there might be, he might write a paragraph of material, and if it's 2 paragraphs, you know, some of the filler might be me. I was just trying to, in some cases, even up the amount of content for each of the peoples or the regions or something. So
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. We had a question from Gaetano Lafavi in chat. Who was it more difficult to edit for, Gary Gygax or Jim Ward?
well, my friend Jim, I still see at conventions and is still alive. We will. Well, I will say that we gave Jim a rough time for spelling, but he generally accepted changes with good grace. And Gary, we had a we had a saying among ourselves that that you edit Gary's material with a feather duster made of pixie wings. You know, very lightly,
Yeah.
if at all. And then every once in a while, he would direct us to do the same treatment to the friends of Gary's, the FOGs. And these would be people like Lynn Lakofka and Don Turnbull and stuff. And I think that their material may have suffered because we weren't allowed to work on it as vigorously as we might have.
So, Alan, I got to go here because Leonard was a great friend of the show. I had him on like 40 times before he passed. He was always on, and he always complained about his stuff getting re-edited, and he said no.
Yes,
he would always complain.
Yes, so probably he went to Gary and said, when you edited a bit too much or
That's
something.
exactly it. He would complain to Gary, and then we'd go next time. All right, fine. You know, I can see that it shouldn't jump from 7 dice to 9 dice. You know, there ought to be 8 in there, but if you want to do that, that's fine.
Len was always, you know.
It was.
Well, everybody who has written has been edited, and everybody has a slightly different experience, although you still think that what you did probably was better, you know. I mean, there are some, okay. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's interesting. So do you think did Gary kind of had a new vision for the setting and he presented the whole thing, or was it more like piecemeal? Meaning because he had his own campaign version that he played at home, and then he kind of translated that into a commercial project or product that was in many ways very different, I take it. But
Right, but he was doing the same thing a lot of us was doing, which would be as his players pushed boundaries. I mean, literally, he would go back and have to write something about where they were going, and he would come up with things like. Sometimes that's the way the world was forced to expand. Was his players would push him on things like that. So I want to say that he had an overall vision, but he didn't have the entire thing universally scoped. It grew in the telling,
Yeah. Yeah. And also one of the things that I really like about the Greyhawk the box set is that the layout and the production is very different from almost every other product TSR ever made, so to speak. The typesetting, that big initial, the calligraphy, the art and stuff, it's very, very different. I don't think there's been any other TSR product that was done the same way, so to speak.
We also didn't have, never had a major collaboration with Dave Sutherland and Darlene either, other than that.
So Darlene's calligraphy kind of influenced the whole project. Yeah.
She was, and it influenced, obviously she did the map, so it influenced the look of that as well. But I can't say enough about, Dave did the arms, the shields of the various places.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't look like it, but that was a tremendous amount of work. That is a lot of technical
Dave
work.
Sutherland did all of the heraldry. All right, that's good, because that's something we wanted to know.
Yeah, I just love that, because that was one of the first things I fell in love with, was the heraldry, the crests.
And the fun thing was I did get to edit Gary on some of that, because I had studied heraldry in the Society for Creative Anachronism when I was in that.
Yeah.
And I actually had a many inches thick English tome, of rules to go to. So
that's great to know, because both Anna and I, we create. I don't follow rules because it's fantasy setting.
No, I don't follow the rules either. I try to find what kind of rules would be for the Greyhawk campaign, so to speak. So yeah.
Well, I mean, the rules for arms were there for visibility purposes. I mean, in other words, they were early graphic designers. You wanted a shield design to be clear and visible at a big distance. It's exactly the way I would design a printed product. So,
that makes sense. Makes total sense. And it's just that separates Greyhawk from all the other settings. One of the things is the heraldry, the fantastic.
I think it was Birthright is the only other setting I think that got some heraldry inserted, and that's many years later.
Right. And oh gosh, I've gone blank. We did a board game.
It's okay.
Knights of Camelot.
Okay.
That had some good stuff in it too. So
wonderful. Yeah.
So speaking of outside of D&D, you did a lot, and I noticed in your Dragon magazine articles, I think you did a lot of them on Boot Hill and Top Secret. You loved both those games.
Right. I was an editor on the second edition Boot Hill, even though I'm credited as Big Help, which was one of the things that I pushed them when I became a manager there was to, hey, ease up on the credits. It's credit is free and people appreciate it. Artists appreciate it when they get, they get credit. But yeah, I helped do a lot of that on Boot Hill. I love it. It's a miniature skirmish that has a few role-playing rules built around it, really, kind of thing. But I still run it. It's hugely popular still and now. And then Top Secret, I was the editor and developer on that. Got a great relationship with Merle Rasmussen that I still have today, and
Cool.
he sent me, he sent the game in, and it was accepted by Gary, and then sent down, and it was decided that I would be the one to work on it. We had of course, everything is typewritten then, and we had a huge back and forth correspondence, and I would say, Merle, I need 20 more pages on this subject, and he would send me 40 more pages on that subject, and then I'd go, that's more editing, but we had that back and forth for a long time, and it finally got, and we finally, I mean, I love the product that we came out with. It was fun. It was easy to play.
Yep.
And we finally decided that we were tired of the correspondence, and we hired Merle to work at TSR. So and then got him. They got him writing things that weren't in his wheelhouse, but he still did a great job. He wasn't a fantasy player. He wasn't a D&D player. But we converted him, so that's good. And then many years later, Merle and I reteamed and did Top Secret New World Order that came out a couple of years ago. For
I sat down with Merle, and he was had a sales pitch with me at Gen Con. He was sitting there, and I was working at the other booth, just like 4 booths away. So he sat down with it. So I was the first one he kept kind of had ran his sales pitch to. So that was a lot of fun. So that was awesome to meet him. So
he's a very nice gentleman.
Oh, wonderful. Yep.
So 2 questions. One statement. You're playing Boot Hill, North Texas. It looks like that's what Jason
Correct. Said. Terror at Tombstone.
Oh, nice. Do you use minis when you play it?
I do have Boot Hill minis. I do bring them, and I'm flying, so I cannot do scenery, but a couple of times we've had locals that have driven in with scenery. So sometimes we have the whitewash pop-up scenery. Sometimes we have some, real scenery that people have. So
one observation of mine back in the day, I loved, even though I didn't play Top Secret, I loved the Dragon Magazine article on Wacko World. I remember that one for Top Secret. I was like, this is a cool adventure. I think it's it's at that amusement park, and I was like, whoa. So it was pretty neat. There was some pretty cool things back in the day. You'd love to see in the Dragon magazines.
If you in the original Top Secret, as we talked about filler illustrations and things, I began to realize there was going to be a space needed, and I went to Darlene, who we were allowed to do some occasional job out work to, and I said, okay, this is the size we need, and I've even got a picture that I'd like you to be the basis for it, and it was Diana Rigg as Emma Peel, and I said, and do one thing for me, and she did it, and there's a little Easter egg in there, and Diana Rigg as Emma Peel in the Top Secret is wearing a signet ring with my initials.
Oh, cool.
So my first TV crush, Diana Rigg, had my initials.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That is so cool. Yeah.
Are you responsible for introducing Darlene to TSR?
She had worked before occasionally, but I actually took her calligraphy class when I got up there because I wanted to keep expanding my medieval knowledge and things like that. Thought it would be fun. Turned out she was teaching it. That's how I got introduced to her, and then I kept pushing her on Dave Sutherland as deadlines got tighter and tighter for various things, and he couldn't do everything himself. And Dave Trampier, who was also occasionally working for us, was very chaotic in his schedule and in his appearances. We had no idea when he would actually do things. So that's no way to run a business when you're trying to schedule things. So you have to, I said, we have to find some outside, people to help you with this.
Yeah.
And she was local, so it made a lot of sense.
So Alan,
Awesome.
Anna
Yeah.
can tell you a quick story. If you notice, the Gabbin, the title is in Greyhawk Gothic, which is
Oh yes, yeah. I
so
got
Anna,
Darlene to because I met Darlene the first time. I think it was 6 years ago at GaryCon, and yeah, since I did a Greyhawk map I was so inspired by her map. That was one of the first, and calligraphy, I must say. I'm even more inspired by her calligraphy than her cartography.
Yes.
But both, yeah. So it's fantastic. So when I get a chance, and so I talked to her there, and she started a Patreon, and I think I was the first or second patron, so to speak. And I want to back then. This is the first time I reached out to her was when I finished my map. I said, can you do the calligraphy for the legend and stuff like that? So she graciously did that and sent that to me. So I put that on the map, and then we had correspondence back and forth a little bit. Then I met her at GaryCon like 5-6 years ago, and we talked, and then after that she started her Patreon, and I became one of her first patrons. And then I said, but you need to do more calligraphy. And she said, well, we talked about the Greyhawk font, and I said, can you do it? So I sponsored her, said that whatever, take this money, sit down and do it, and she did, and then released it as to for non-commercial like purposes. You can download it and use it, so to speak. So
very neat.
Yeah, so it was awesome. So I hope that we can do some more kind of collaborations that way. That will be fantastic. So we'll see.
It's nice to have.
I actually have one of she did a couple of things for me, including a not quite full length, but a large oil painting of me in armor with my family coat of arms, my real family coat of arms.
Wow.
That I gave to my parents, and I have it now. She also did the design for our store sign after I left TSR. My wife and I did a game store called Lion and Unicorn, and she did the Lion and Unicorn design and the logo for us. So
yeah, that's wonderful. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Alan, I noticed in some of your other discussions that you left TSR at some point. Did you go back to finish your chemistry, what you were doing degree wise, or did you?
Oh heavens, no. No, I left because I was one of the purge victims.
When they broke up, so to speak, or?
Well, it was after. I don't want to get the chronology right. It was the 1983 purge, and there were there were about 100 of us let go on one day, and I went to my boss to check at the time, but he had been sacked too. And my friend Gary Spiegel came around to my cube to complain to me, and I said, I've been sacked too.
So that's when TSR had grown into become a big company, and things have gone like that.
They went way too many wild directions that involved nepotism and needlework and Buck Rogers and
all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm.
But you did come back and freelance this.
Well, I did that.
Which is
Bruce
really cool.
Hurd contacted me and convinced me to freelance a module for them. And that was it was an interesting project. And I'll say that it's a module that I couldn't possibly do today in today's geopolitical climate.
Exactly, I was just going to say. Yeah.
True.
But the key was the Al-Akbar was a reference to the artifact mentioned in the earliest D&D, the Cup and Talisman of Al-Akbar, which was unlike all of the other things, which were weapons or power or something like that. This was a healing thing. It was a cleric artifact. So I came up with a plague that required them to find that to get it healed. And they have to go through some some wilderness adventures before they get to a town adventure, before they get to a kind of mini dungeon in a castle to get what they need to. And so, you know, we gave them a little, and yeah, there were some beautiful art there that I'll have to give, you know, Bruce elaborated on what I had done and made that into a large
Yeah, it's an easy
thing that had never been done before. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's really cool, and I know it gets retconned into Greyhawk. You know, a lot of people place this into Greyhawk.
Oh yeah.
It's not specifically set in Greyhawk, but it does get retconned.
Since it has the early
well,
references.
When you know
yeah.
when you locate something in a trackless desert, it's pretty easy to retcon it into something. So
yeah.
What of your publications at TSR? What are your which one are you most proud of?
Well, I was one of the editors for the very first Dungeon Master's Guide. That's got to be, you know, up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was one of the editors for Deities and Demigods. Again, we did, and Jim did a lot of most of the writing on that. But each of the editors wrote a number of sections too. So, you know, we're proud of that.
Yeah.
Ghost Tower of Inverness, everybody likes.
Oh,
I mean,
my gosh,
my goodness, I got mentioned in the second D&D movie by the Ghost Tower by name, and even in an episode of the Goldbergs a few years ago, when they they pulled that out as the hardest dungeon module they could think of. You know, so, that was very nice. I appreciated that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When you left TSR, you went to Roll Aids, and you did some publications like Fantastic Treasures and Fantastic Treasures 2.
Yeah, those were all at the time. I was working on getting the store set up and then running the store. So I didn't actually, you know, work at Mayfair, which did Roll Aids. I was in Birmingham at the time, but I did it. You know, I wrote it then, and I knew all the people there, you know, so they gave me these contracts and did that. And Monsters of Myth and Legend 3 was the third book that I did. I always joke, I did Fantastic Treasures and the sequel, the aptly named Fantastic Treasures 2. But and the difference between the two covers and one that I had to, you know, complain about was, I said, you know, you didn't put my name on the front of the first cover.
Exactly. It's like, I had to make sure it was you. I had to verify that. Yeah.
You know, and it's like when they did the Endless Quest book for Ghost Tower of Inverness, I wasn't mentioned anywhere in there. I said, come on, you got to at least say inspired by, you know.
Yeah.
You would certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Oversights like that drive people crazy. I agree.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
So here's I think this is an independent publication of yours that everyone asks about, Night of the Black Swords.
Yeah.
I mean, I get everyone wants this to be re-released. I think it was Big Mac or Oblivion Seeker or Obsidian Les asked me about this. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this? And it says C1 on this, so it's just a little jab back at TSR.
I did not do that.
Okay. Okay.
That's done by Diecast Games, and you want to find Devin Hibbs if you want him to re-release it.
Devin Hibbs.
He was a dealer at a GaryCon, the first GaryCon that I went to. I went up on my own, not as a guest, because my friends had been telling me this was like a great reunion of all the friends from TSR, you know. So I saved up and made my way up there one year and went up and met this gentleman, Devin, in the dealer's hall, and he said, "I really like your work." You know, I said, "You know, is there anything that would you like to write a module? I mean, maybe we could publish it." And I said, "Well, I don't think that I could afford to have a module published at this time. And he said, no, I'm going to pay you. And I went, we can talk. I thought he was offering me a self-publishing venture, So,
Yeah.
And then he said, can you think of a tournament or anything that you wrote that you haven't published? And I said, well, I did one for CoastCon in Biloxi for many years ago, and dug it out, and that was Night of the Black Sword. I believe at the time that I wrote it that it was the first adventure where the characters were lawful evil and had to cooperate with each other. The idea is that there is they form a Mission Impossible sort of force and have to do something in the within the planes of hell to do something. So it's not your standard encounter, although there are a lot of planes of hell source material out nowadays and adventures in there.
What year roughly was this?
Yes, but well, the tournament that I wrote it for was around 1985.
Okay, so it's still running. Yeah.
This red one was published 5 or 6 years. The time flies.
No problem.
Yeah. Devin Gibbs is the person to talk
Devin
to.
Gibbs, okay. You get this because we have, like, on the Cannon Fire Discord, we have a lot of people that they have things they want in their collection, and this is one of them that someone really, really wants by you, Alan. So I just wanted to put it out there, like, what was the background on it. Now we know we can make a 2013. You think, Itano? All right, so it's
look at the great art. I mean, you know,
who do you know who did the artwork there?
That I believe was Rosloff.
Okay.
And then we've got a Diesel on the interior.
Okay.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So Diesel's still going strong after all these years. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is really fun seeing all of my friends at cons. That's one of the major reasons I go now. So
I know we only got you for like 15 more minutes here, and then we'll let you go. Question going back to artwork: was the artwork edited as much as the writing was, or did you guys go, let them have creative license for the most part? That was a question that came up in Twitch chat.
The designers and editors never edited the artwork. We would try to give them as much help and guidelines as what we liked, what we envisioned, but we weren't artists, or we would, be doing it,
Yeah.
And we had people that were very talented, and we wanted to give them all that freedom. Upper management, on the other hand, sometimes would see something after it was done and then go, oh, no, wait. And the most famous of that was the Palace of the Silver Princess, Gene Wells module that got pulled back. But as a matter of fact, like I said, I would encourage them to do little Easter eggs like Darlene with my initials. Dave Sutherland liked to, if he drew a wizard's pointed hat, there would be symbols on it. There would be a moon, and there would be a star, and there would be a sun, and there would be a biplane, for Fight in the Skies, which we also, made, but you had to look very, very closely to see that and find
that's cool.
Something that really doesn't look in place.
Some questions from the audience here. You do North Texas. What other cons do you do pre-COVID? And are you running them in 1E? Like if you're running World,
I do. It depends.
Okay.
When I run Ghost Tower, I do it in 1E. I'm going to run Return to Inverness, and that's 5E. It was written as a 5E, and that's how I'll run it. For 25 years, my local group probably played 3.5 to the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so you played them all.
I run Boot Hill in 2nd edition, the boxed edition. I tease my friend Steve Winter, who edited the 3rd edition, that 2nd edition is the real edition, not that touchy-feely crap that he did.
Nice. Yes, I agree.
But So yeah, and the other cons that I go to in no particular order are, if it ever comes back, Gary Con, Gamehole Con in Madison, usually in November. This year will be in October. And Total Con in Boston in February.
Okay.
And there is a close to me con called Play On Con that I don't go to game, I go to do other things, because that's not in essence a gaming con, although gaming is a large part of it. It's a summer camp con. There are we do things like beer croquet and table flipping and water balloon fights and stuff like that. Yeah.
So as far as remote goes, would there be a remote chance we get you to run Ghost Tower for Virtual GreyOutCon in October?
I think that's a possibility. I'll check the dates.
Okay,
but I do maintain a Roll20 account, so I can I can do that. Yeah,
that would be, so last year we had almost 100 events, and it went very well for the first year. And we have live streams, 24-hour coverage, and we have a whole bunch of people that you would know that have will DM for it. Alan Growe's one of the big ones. Carlos Lacing, a lot of that'd be fantastic. And Luke participated last year, which was fantastic too. So very, very cool. So any other questions from the audience? That'd be great if we got how many players do you like in that? Is it a 5 or 6? How many do you normally?
Five is the classic.
Five is classic.
I can run a couple of others. I can run up to 7.
Okay. Wow,
it doesn't matter. I will kill them with equal.
that would be awesome. So I'm glad to hear you use Roll20. Do you use any other VTTs, or is that the one your mainstay is Roll20?
That was the first one that our locals were introduced to, so it's the one that I get the most technical support.
And it's also the one that is mostly widely used still. So
Fantasy Grounds has all the classics though in it too.
Yeah, and I actually tried to experiment with Fantasy Grounds, and for me,
learning curve.
I mean, maybe it's just because I've gotten so much into Roll20 that
Fantasy Grounds is a beast to understand. The UI is terribly difficult. The
learning curve for me was too much.
Okay.
It's to get into it is very, very difficult. It can automate more stuff, but it's a big hump to get over, so to speak, before it starts working.
I'm glad somebody else has that.
I had it. I had it for a year, and I tested it for like 50 hours before I even could conceive. I was like, I need to figure it out, and it was like, no, I can't do it, and I'll need to figure it out. I need to test stuff. Now, for the first time, I actually be able to get it to work, so to speak. So it is really cool and awesome once you get over it. But please, anyone who's doing that program, make it work like other computer software. That's a big good idea.
Right. Yeah. Common user interface is
exactly.
Yes. Alan, we have some offers, especially from Balfron, who is one of the Fantasy Grounds college persons on, and is a real great tech guy to help out with the learning curve for Fantasy Grounds if you're ever interested. So he's offering.
I have several friends who are both in the Fantasy Grounds college and actually use Fantasy Grounds and program stuff for it professionally. So I have all the help in the world. But it's a beast to learn, but it's a real cool software once you figured it out. So to speak.
I think obviously everyone has its advantages and disadvantages. So.
Roll20, one of the really cool things is that it's much easier to get into.
So another question: if there was something that in the old school realm 1E2E back in the day, Greyhawk wise or otherwise, D&D based, what would you have loved to have done? Was there an adventure from your home setting, or?
Well, I wish that in some ways that I had not responded to the editor ad and had waited and been labeled a designer from the get-go instead of an editor who could also design, because I found myself jealous of
Okay.
some of the other people who got to produce more modules and products.
Yeah, so
and
you got labeled the wrong way.
I do that
so to
too,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and then I became the manager of designers, and I will tell you that managers do not have time to write, so
Damn, so you skipped the yeah. Yeah.
That's a
So
shame.
I was thinking we often heard about there's been rumors of Greyhawk products that came out, but one of the things that I'm very intrigued by is the hints at Stoink as a product for Stoink and the city of Stoink. Is that something you have any information about? Gary wrote about it in the Gorda books that he said we had so much fun and it's going to, and I saw an interview or something he wrote afterwards saying that, oh, we would love to have done a Stoink box set or Stoink product, but nothing came out. So was that just his wishes?
I saw nothing from him on that.
Yeah, so it was just something, it was his wishes, but not something that was like this close to getting published and then was canned or anything like that. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
no, I think the one part of Greyhawk that I played in was the Alice in Wonderland levels, and I think he could have written a whole series on that and had a lot of fun with it.
Interesting. So any little tidbit of like knowledge that is very little known by you that, hey, this happened, or something that you want to share? Or I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but you usually get some kind of tidbit. Like we got a tidbit from Jim Ward that Gary coined him as the Monty Hall DM, and that's where it came from.
Well, let's see. When we did sometimes try to play other companies' games. I mean, we had a very creative bunch of folks, and so one time when I think it was FASA's Star Trek role-playing game first came out, Tracy Hickman was going to start a campaign, and he had us over for the first adventure, and I had elected or pitched a tantrum and insisted that I get to play Spock, and so Tracy was starting it with me on the bridge in command and the rest of the crew there, and he said that he informed the helm that they were picking up a long-range Federation shuttlecraft on sensors, and so he tells me, and so I realize this is Tracy's way of getting Kirk back to us and to get the mission directive, and instead my character says, "It sounds like a Klingon trap. Lock phasers onto that shuttlecraft." And Tracy's eyes got so big. He was seeing his carefully planned campaign disintegrate in a heartbeat. And I said, "Let's give it a chance. Open hailing frequencies." and then we brought him on in. I played it straight from then on.
That's
funny.
Had
a little bit of fun and got to raise the Spock eyebrow at that time.
That's awesome. Almost blew Kirk out of the water there, out of the sky.
Yeah, well,
awesome.
we enjoyed playing as much as we did writing, and that's the heart of everything.
So was that part of office culture to run like lunch games and stuff like that as part of the?
There were sometimes there was time for that. One time the designers and artists got in trouble at a Gen Con because we were playing the tag game or assassination game where you had a picture of a Polaroid of a person, and what we were using were these weak little mini ping pong ball guns that had an effective range of about 3 feet, and a cat would have swatted it out of the way. So, but upper management said, "You will not be doing this," and the designers and artists said, "Well, yes, we are," and we proceeded to be very careful about it. But whenever we saw each other that Gen Con for the first day, it was like we were eyeing each other. We weren't getting in the elevator together or anything like that, because it might be the person, you know. So that was a lot of fun trying to play that and hide it from our superiors, the funless managers.
No more fun of any kind.
That's right.
Just
It was very Gilberty.
So we got a question as we're rounding down here. Favorite class and favorite monster.
Okay. There are things to be said for all of them, but I would say my first class, which was the wizard, is probably still the favorite, because I think you can be more creative with that, with the use of spells, the shaping, the illusions, and things like that. And favorite monster, I'm going to go with the one that I created called the Zorbo. It only appeared on the monster cards.
Oh wow!
But, the Zorbo looks like a little koala, but it's think of a rust monster that absorbs magic instead of steel. It takes away the magic when it hits something. So the +3 sword can hit it once.
Yeah, it's MM2. It's in Monster Manual 2, if I recall.
And they love they love to cuddle. They and they're so cute.
They created that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Very very cool. So, Alan, anything you want to say in closing? We'll let you go when you're ready, and we'll do our shout outs and discussions the last half hour. I know you gotta go. So
I appreciate it. I would like to encourage everyone who can to come in person if you've been vaccinated to North Texas RPG Con. A week and a half now.
Try next year. It's very high on my list.
I would love to go this year.
You ought to, and it's I like the one hotel cons now, and that all of the 4 that I mentioned are the one location cons.
Yeah,
cons where if you work at it, you can see any guest that you want to there multiple times, because things are concentrated enough that you can do that. In October 21st in Madison, Gamehole Con.
That might be a con I'm going to. So
another great convention. Alex Kammer runs it, shows us a great time. And then in February in Boston, Total Con. Again, all things in basically one venue. Gamehole Con's gotten a little bigger, but the Alliance Center that they play in is where the majority of stuff is. And so, please, we'd love to see you. Let's get back to in-person gaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I really appreciate your time tonight, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm dead serious about if you could DM one game for Virtual Grail Con, it would be an honor to have you do that.
I'll tell you what, have your people talk to my people.
I'm the people, so I'll talk to you.
Okay, great.
It's my con, so thank you.
Good.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we're hanging here. That was awesome. What a great discussion with Alan.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. I don't want to talk about Alan. There we go. Till he goes. So that was really cool. He can only stay for an hour and a half. So.
But that was fantastic.
Wow. So note this. I will stick with getting Alan to on Roll20. It won't be streamed, but to play Ghost Tower, and 5 to 7 of you lucky signups for will get in on that game. So note that'll be fantastic. Good to hear, Def Ray, you got that. Thank you. So note I still have these to give away tonight. We'll do that at the end. But we got a ton of stuff to talk about, and we're gonna do our shout outs early, because I want to talk about something now. First off, with Anna, we had our first meeting for yesterday.
Yep.
And it is a huge thing. So let's go to that. And I haven't pressed this yet, but here we go. All right. We have a brand new show coming on this channel. First one will be June 18th. So let me find. Anna, why don't you talk about the fantasy mapping show coming
Yeah,
here?
it was Alyssa and me. We kind of hinted, and when we talked last year, just a little bit, we should do something together. And then when we talked like a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I simply said, now we need to do a Twitch show, and about fantasy cartography. And so we said, Alyssa said, yeah, let's do it. So then we asked Jay if he wanted to produce it and host it on the channel. So that's awesome, because now we have a home for it. So we're going to do like once a month, we're going to have a 2-hour show where we talk about fantasy cartography. We're going to talk about different types of maps, tools to use, and all sorts of stuff, workflows, ideas, pitfalls, and stuff like that. So every topic that we can come up with, and we really want to hear from all you guys what you want to hear and listen to and see in the form of fantasy cartography. So it will be the focus on fantasy cartography, and we will hope that we can get some cartographers and artists that works with maps as guests too.
Yeah, and
So,
the great thing about this show is it's unlimited in its scope. Now, the first episode is just going to be a welcome, and Alyssa and Anna will go over some of their, where they've come from the beginning, showing some of their original work to now, and then a Q&A session. But from after episode 2, and we're looking at Friday nights, everyone. So Friday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, whenever we have this once a month. The fantasy mapping show, but we will have guests, and the big one that Alyssa said she'll attempt to get is Dyson, who's very difficult to get.
Yes,
So,
we try him, and we have a bunch of other cartographers that we at least have in our circle, so to speak. So we try and get them.
I know there's one that I'd like to see. She's Italian, Francesca Baraldi. I'd love for you to get her.
I'm Facebook friends with her.
Wow,
We'll see if we can get her. That will be fantastic.
Yeah, so I'd love to see some of those. So that is so, Anne, any other things you'd like to say? I'm excited about this because we're going to go in a different direction where we're
I think it could be. I think it could be a lot of fun, and also try to talk about not only how to make maps, but how to use them. And talk about maps in different, meaning we have different types of gamers. We have things from theater of the mind gamers, we have ETT gamers, we have people that are miniature based gaming and stuff like that. So there are many different ways to play tabletop role-playing games that have different needs for maps. So that, and some people treat, they're basically flying by the seat of their pants, and maps would kind of get in their ways. And some people like me are very, very geography oriented. So maps are kind of what they base their games around. So there's like a very different approach to it. So, and they are in-game maps, meaning handout maps that should look like something the characters carry around, to things like satellite-like maps that kind of gives the DM all the details, and you calculate your travel times with and all that stuff. So maps comes in so many different ways for in role-playing games. So we probably have at least 10 shows just to talk about the different basic things. And then you have different techniques to produce the maps, from drawing in ink and oil paint and stuff like that, the old traditional way, to Photoshop and the digital way, to 3D and all sorts of other stuff. So and what tools to use. And then we come to, meaning if you just a DM and you just want to alter some map, or you just want to have some scribbles for your own games, and you don't want to invest more than the basic minimum, we're going to look into all these there's probably 100 different tools to make maps, from CAD based to things that are painting based, that are symbol based, there are hex based things. There are so many things. That are things in the web browser like Incarnate and Dungeon Fog and all sorts of things. So we're going to look into some of these tools and talk about them and showcase them, and hopefully we can get some of the designers of these tools to come on the show too and talk about their ambitions and stuff. So these are some of the ideas and stuff that we're working with. So
and another idea will be, like, for example, both Alyssa and Anna will get Incarnate, and they'll work on it, and they'll give you and they'll go and they'll rate it. They'll say, hey, it's easy to use or whatever. So we're gonna have a lot of really neat ideas going on. Being it once a month, it'll be a lot less pressure, especially on me. If I had another weekly show, my wife would throw me out of the house. So
But Jay
yeah.
will be the important because he will be the DM test on this. So
Yes,
meaning
I'll be the DM
how would it work
aspect of
in
it.
from a DM perspective, so to speak. So that's important because DM is the primary user of most of the maps in the game, so to speak, both for
Yeah.
reference for the DM only and then presentation material for the players too. So there's a lot of it. So
Yes, Catano. Yes, we'll get there. We'll get there on Altamira. I think that's part. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's okay, man. Give me some nonsense. It's fine, man. But yeah, there's a lot of things. A lot of things.
But designing Altamira is something that is coming. Yep, it's coming.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's a major thing we need to do at some point here.
Yep. Yep.
So just wanted to let you all know that we'll have that new show coming on and combine it with all the other stuff going on with Tim's game. There's a lot. We got a lot more content coming to the channel. And that is a fun thing. So, hey, it's 9:04. Let's just do our normal shout outs, Anna, now. By the time we get done, it'll be probably 9:20. We'll be good here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
it's Bugbear Artist. It's probably a diesel. That is from Ghost Tower of Inverness. It's one of them. It's either Diesel or Easily, I believe.
Yeah.
Cast played all these pictures are from the original Ghost Tower of Inverness. So, okay. Yep, no problem. So go ahead, Anna.
I was just going to say this has been a week of change because I have some big changes in my schedule for the year. I can't give you any details yet. I just have to say that it's good, so to speak. Some of events that I was going to and some of the commissions and stuff have been canceled, which means that it's going to be more free time for me to do more Greyhawk maps. So the good thing is that I'm going to work more on getting more things out and started. That's why I haven't posted any new things and plans on my Patreon. So I'm sorry for the delay, but I wanted to when I posted things, when I realized that there's change coming, I wanted to know what the change will be and how I can work with it. So it's coming more opportunities, so to speak. So I can tell you that there will be things in the Greyhawk Con. I will definitely run some games at the Greyhawk Con. So there will be some special maps and stuff for that. And so I hope that I can do some extra project this year and stuff. And I also will start work early on the expansion of the Atlas and the new version of the Flanny's map, was a 21 version. And I also must say that I had 299 patrons yesterday. I haven't checked today, so it's getting very close to my $1,000 level and per month, and I'm just blown away by how cool this is. Yeah, so I can now going to tell you that's the new goals. The $1,000 level is the GIS level. That means that I'm going to switch over and start the GIS project in full, and that's something that will be the major thing for next year, is to translate over the whole Flanny's map and all my Greyhawk map over to GIS technology. And that means a whole bunch of, it opens the floodgates for a whole bunch of stuff, and especially things for the next goal for my Patreon at $1,500 per month, and that's the print goal. So I can start doing dedicated print editions that will have a home where you can actually order prints from it, so to speak. So that's coming. And the reason I want to have a bigger budget, because I want to make sure that I can do test runs of prints. And since that can fall into the hundreds of dollars, I want to have a budget for that. So every couple of months, I can actually do test prints and make sure. And what I will do with these test prints is that they will be raffled out to my patrons. We will hopefully can do some raffles here at the show, like on the fantasy cartography show or something, and do raffles and stuff of these things, so to speak. And there will be special prints. So hopefully with some more support, then that's I hope might be able to reach 1,500 by the end of the year or something like that, so we can look forward to doing special print editions and stuff next year using GIS for like 24 by 36 inch and stuff like that. That's one of the beauties of when I have GIS based maps, is that we can do special ones for special formats and stuff like that, and change the styles and things. So there's a whole bunch of new openings on that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, so that is the and I can also have a report. We had a game session this morning, the session 11, and almost TPK. So it was me kind of throwing a little bit tough on them, so to speak, and they decided to, like what most players do, you stay and fight. And so they stayed and fight almost immediately, and the whole party was almost wiped out. So there was only one conscious, and that was the wizard with 1 hit point, and he fled the stuff. So, but they will be around for the second installment of the storming the keep in 2 weeks. So yeah.
Good to see that they.
No, they was not like idiots. That was awesome fun. So I had a great time, and I think so. Yeah, it was almost TPK'd. So yeah, it was very, very close to TPK.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So lots going on. So where am I going to start? Yep. Let's start with what the schedule for this week is. So the entire schedule is worked out, except I have TBD on Legends and Lore. I still don't know what the topic is.
Exactly, we haven't figured that out.
We don't have that yet. So
yeah, we need to figure that out.
We're going to try and figure that out by Wednesday. Yes.
Yeah, we definitely will have it by tomorrow. So yeah.
Going to Thursday though. So I got 2 adventures this week. Adventure number 912, and it's titled "Never Let a Crisis Go to Waste."
That is a great.
You like that?
Great great title. That's almost as I love that one.
Yeah,
that was great.
With the Xanthoria plague going through Altamira, and it's still finishing up as our great high-level heroes have taken care of that.
This is your own adventure, so to speak?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Next 2.
Yep.
Next 2, I got 2 going on this week. The adventure group Theo's Heroes are going to be asked to do something. Theo's Heroes are run by the Jester, so yes, it's going to be a fun one. And it'll be my normal group on Thursday night. Infinite Dimensions giveaways on Thursday. So, with a plague roaming through the area, there's opportunity for bad guys as always. So I figured, hey, what a great name for an adventure. I came up with that. Now we have a monster game. I want you all to watch Saturday night because this is good. There's two players, Stella and Kayla are both playing, but the rest are all new. They've never played 1E, 2E before, and they've never played in Greyhawk before. All right, so I got Stella, I got Time Lord's wife, I got the Lady May, that D'Angelo, Runaway Robot. And so I have 5 in this group, and Kayla's playing Tegan, her priest of Saint Benedor, and Stella's playing Sierra, her ranger thief. And I'm gonna put them through the ringer. And I know that I know Dave and I know Cannibal are all going to give me anti-hero points. It's going to be wonderful. You're going to scare them. So it'll be a fun one. And this will also tie into the play going on. Another adventure on the Trail of the Mistress will be the name of this. So that will be a one-shotter. That'll be my Saturday night special, 6 p.m. Yeah. So that is a great. It is, Sean. It's going to be great. Okay.
Yep.
And Stella gave me permission if they get off base for over RPing to put them right back in line because it is a one shotter. So just note that I'm gonna play it just like I would any other one shot. I'm gonna be my nice good old DM, but I guarantee you that I have of course I have a surprise ending like I always do. So I'm gonna throw them something that is right in my wheelhouse, and they're gonna be scared shitless. So guarantee it. So that'll be a blast. Note no Gabbin next Sunday. I have a big party at my house Sunday for Memorial Day weekend. So what we do Memorial Day weekend, we normally push it to Monday. Next Monday's Gabbin. No guests. Come on, I've had enough great guests. So we're gonna keep on things going with spicing up your thief class. Plus, to assassinate or not, is the assassinate class that you want in your game. So we're gonna talk about all the rogues. And thanks, Mac. I got a lot of people coming, so yeah, I had to, once again, I want to stay married, so I'm pushing this back to Monday night. To assassinate or not, we're going to talk about should the assassin exist, what my opinion is on that, all the other thief subclasses, the difference between first and second edition thieves, what you guys do in later editions, the bounty hunter, we'll talk about again. We'll talk about the shadow mage, how it works with thieves and all those other classes. So it'll be a good discussion on the Spicing Up series. All rogues lead to jail or something there, Gitano maybe. Some other great announcements. I think I have a placard for this too. This is 4 Legends and Lores away. I don't even think I put it in shoutouts. Yeah, I have a banner for it. This is a Saturday morning Legends and Lore. Okay.
Yep.
Saturday morning, episode 104. Saturday, June 12th, 11 a.m. Eastern. Living Greyhawk, Alyssa. I will have the Finns on. Sampo, Harla, Nitessine will be on with Anna and hopefully Mike. We haven't, you know, for this one. So it's 11 a.m. Eastern, and it'll be like 6 p.m. their time. And there's a possible Creighton Broadhurst will be joining them too. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm working on that too. But at least I have Sampo and Nitessine on to talk about Living Greyhawk, Alyssa, and Casey, of course. How could I forget Casey?
Yes.
Absolutely, Casey. Sorry about that. But this is the time that worked for them. It works for me.
Oh, that's
so
that's great.
it'll be a bonus Legends and Lore in 3 weeks. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So we'll have 2 Legends and Lore that week. We'll have episode 103 and 104, but 104 is set. Yeah, so we'll have that. So we got a ton of other. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to fit in a BattleTech game on a Saturday too. We're trying to fit in Tim's game as well in June. And there's a lot going on. Plus, then in July we're going to have the fundraiser event, hopefully with Eric Mona, and then let's just talk virtual Greyhawk Con as well. Friday from 5 Eastern on is completely booked up already. We're good. And then so I need to have another meeting with Ballfriend, a BattleTech game. I'm a big BattleTech player. So is all my guys, and we're talking about a Saturday morning BattleTech game. Canadian Ancient Gamer and Parentland, Sean, are playing in it. It's called. It's going to be called the New Recruits. Because we haven't played in like 2.5 years our BattleTech campaign, so very possibly, Mac, I can, but it's possible. It's possible. We shall see. BattleTech's awesome. So I will once we have a date on that. We were going to try to do June 5th, but we may have a conflict. It was Patrick's idea, Canadian Ancient Gamer, and he may not be able to play that day. So we may need to. I can't do it on the 12th because we have the Finns, so it may get pushed to the 19th. So we're trying to get that and have that game, and old school BattleTech Mech Warrior characters made up and everything. Throw a little change it up in the RP world as our second game. No clan. We're pre-clan XL. Pre-clan. We're just post-war 3039. That gives you the time frame we are. No clan tech yet. Now there's lost tech though. Yep. So I said, the 12th is cannon fodder in the evening, not in the. So I'm going to have both the Finns on in the morning, and then I'm going to have cannon fodder at night. So which version do I run? I run classic BattleTech, man. I run old school BattleTech. 18 inches. Not Death Giver. AC20, 18 inches. LRMs are at the 42 inches. Old school, 2 6-sided die, old classic. Yep. That's it. Going to be a blast, man. With your sheets, with freaking, your plastic sheet over top and grease pencils marking off all your damage. Yeah, it's a blast. So, we're going to have a lot of fun that day. And then keep up the ideas coming. We're going to have another meeting for Greyhawk Con shortly. I got a lot of DMs. We have some DMs from last year that are not participating this year, but we have some new DMs, so I need to start coordinating all that for streaming. There's still spots Friday afternoon, most of Saturday morning and afternoon. I'm sorry, Tim's in the morning on Saturday. So Sunday all day except for the Ask the Experts finale, which is going to be tied in. It's only going to be 3 days. I can't do 4. I go insane with 4 days, right, Anna? I can't do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, but 3 days is good.
Yeah, Virtual Greyhawk Con will be 3 days, but we're looking forward to that. And Troller Games is already committed to being the top sponsor, and I'm working on the other ones for sponsorship. But that's what's going on. I'll get you your Death Ray. I will get you your free city, and there you go. And Mitch. So I'll get you both VIP badges coming up. No problem. Anything else, Anna, you can think of? I know we're going to finish. Looks like a little early tonight, which is okay.
Yeah, but it feels like something. I forgot to say something, but I can't remember what it was that I was supposed to mention or something.
I'm going to link this, and I know Alyssa was at like 59, and if you haven't, and you're interested, Alyssa's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. We're gonna be shouting out hers too. If you already patronize Anna, it's okay to patronize Alyssa too.
Oh yeah,
Right?
definitely.
Yes.
Yep.
But you
And
must.
she is a cartographer extraordinaire.
Yes.
Especially city maps are fantastic. She can do some city maps that are awesome.
Anna's a prerequisite though, guys.
You
You got to do Anna first. Yes. There you
well,
go.
but it's kind of cool. But both Alyssa and me, we are super over obsessed about details.
Yes.
Yeah.
And time is. I mean, you guys were all talking about how, hey, we can't do stuff in 2 weeks. We need to take our time on things.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Funny,
it takes months to do stuff. So yeah.
Yep. So any final questions from the audience? If not, we'll call it an early night's good once in a blue moon here.
Okay,
We're not going 3-4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And note, there's a lot of content. If you count me going into Monday, I got 4 streams next week. Some really fantastic content. The games are going to be wonderful. Anna's the gateway drug to patrons. Yeah, she is.
I love that.
She absolutely is, and I'm really excited about that new show. I'm really excited about all the other. I am talking to other people for other guests. Trust me, there'll be a lot of other great guests coming on. We'll have a lot.
But I think it can be fun because there are not that many kind of talk shows on Twitch or YouTube about maps. They are YouTubers and stuff that talks about fantasy cartography a bit, but not. I think that there's a need for more, so to speak. So yeah.
I don't know about that, Mac, about Underdark maps. I know Cannibal Troy was working on something. I also know that Malden has a bunch of them already.
But it's interesting because it's kind of the large-scale dungeon mapping. That's basically what Underdark maps are, and that is tricky, and that's something that we definitely need to have an episode about that, because I need to start thinking about it, and I worked on some ideas and on how to do it, and it's tricky. It's one of the most tricky because, well, now we're getting into gritty details, but we could talk about this forever. But there's a lot of interesting ways to twist and turn almost all of this, and then we want all of you guys to come and tell us what to do and what not to do and what to talk about and what you want to have us talk about, so to speak. That's the important bit.
There's a lot, absolutely. And note, once a month, I guarantee we'll have too much content with being once a month, which is great. We'll have too many ideas.
Exactly, well, we're shooting for 2-hour shows, so there will be a little bit of time to talk about things and show things and so on. And then we can, if someone wants to have like a long walkthrough on workflow and stuff, that is probably not the scope of the show, but that's something we can do YouTube videos, or we can do on our own Twitch channels, maybe sit and work on something, how you do something in Photoshop or something like that takes 2 hours to do. So it will be more like examples and ideas and stuff like that on the show. Okay. Yep.
Let's do these two. Okay. I'm going to hold the third one for another time, I think. Yeah. We'll do these two tonight. Whoops. We'll do these two tonight, and then that'll give me another time when Alan may be back on or whatever. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick keeps on sending me stuff, and it's like these piles get bigger and bigger. By the way, I got like 8 BattleTech ones that I got to give away. So that's why one of the reasons why I'm doing BattleTech show, because Patrick keeps on sending me all these. So, all right. Anyone else? Last call for the giveaways. All right, here we go. Keep on hitting it up. Yes. If you don't have this, especially, these are nice copies. These are really nice. So nice reprints. Of them. All right. Okay. Here we go. Going to close it out. We're going to raid into 20 sides every story. I think he's doing. I think our 20 sides doing Temple of Elemental Evil tonight. I think they're doing the Goodman Games Temple of Elemental Evil. I could be wrong, but
that sounds cool.
I think that's where we'll go. They're cool. We'll raid into them tonight. All right, here we go. The giveaways. Will J crash stuff? He's doing Salt Marsh. Okay. Well, that's cool. It's still good. I think maybe he was doing TEE from Goodman on Saturday night, which is cool. Last call for alcohol. Yes. 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer. Entries are closing. All right, here we go. Winner number 1. Dragon Silverleaf of Selene. There you go. Dragon, I don't know if I have your address yet. I'm going to need it. Are you U.S. based? Dragon, are you U.S. based? I don't know where you are. Just tell me you're U.S. based or not. So, second winner. Kyle Kreider. All right. So, both Kyle Kreider, Dragon Silverleaf of Selene.
Congratulations.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Kyle, you on still? Let me just check if Kyle. Yes. Okay. Both of you whisper me your full addresses. I may have them already, but just put them in chat. Whisper them to me. Hey, thanks. I get an early night for a change. My wife's going to love it. So,
Yep.
All right, excellent. Hey, thank you all for coming on tonight and having
thank
a
you.
great show. Thank you very much. And just note, like I said, Wednesday night we're on Legends and Lore. Thursday night my normal game. Saturday night special 6 o'clock, and then nothing Sunday. But we'll have Gabbin next Monday. All right, so that'll be the schedule, and we'll see you all Wednesday night. For we'll have the topic probably tomorrow night by tomorrow.
Yeah,
and I'll post it. See you. Have a good one. See you, Anna. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, let's set the raid up. 20 sides every story. See if we can get over 50 at least, hopefully to 70. Whatever we get to is good.
55, 64,
there you go.
67.
Beautiful.
Yep.
5,
59.
4, 3, 2, 70. Perfect. 1. We'll see you all soon. See you Wednesday. 3 going in here.
Yeah. Pop the room.
Try to turn this off. Put the sound on so I can hear what's going on here.